Okay, so I'd like to look at question 7 of paper 1 of November 2015. This question deals with financial maths, and it's a bit different to what you normally see because in this case we've got a graph. So let's just take a look at this graph before we look at the actual questions. And it says here the graph of F shows the book value of a vehicle X years after the time Joe bought it. The graph of G shows the cost price of a similar vehicle years later. So if we just scribble on this thing and take a look, this 450,000, okay, let me use a nicer looking color. This 450,000 tells us what? That tells us the cost price of the vehicle when he bought it. That's the cost price. And you can see here that this one does something like that, and the other one does something like that. Now, firstly, the main thing that you notice is one of them is increasing and one of them is decreasing. Great. But what does that mean? Well, all that means is that the one has inflation. So this one is the new vehicle, new car with inflation. Right, because it's going to increase year by year, and this one is the old car with depreciation. I apologize for the flashing border bar at the bottom, but anyways, so the one is a new car with inflation, the other one is an old car, the one that he bought, with depreciation. And at some point they've got a thing where they say, well, at some point this car is worth X amount, and they're probably going to ask you a question of, well, how much is the other car worth? And another thing that you must notice is that these graphs are not straight lines. Okay, this is a curve, it's an exponential curve, it's curving, and this one's also doing the same thing but going down. So they're exponentials, which means we're looking at compound interest, which is what inflation is. Inflation is always compound interest, and this is compound depreciation. I'll choose a thinner pen. Compound depreciation, and that means on reducing balance. Okay, and that's it really in terms of explaining the graph. So let's actually go on to some of the questions. It says, how much did Joe pay for the vehicle? Well, how much he paid is simply this 450,000 rand. So using the reducing balance, we know that because we see it's a curved line, not a straight line, so it must be reducing balance, to calculate the percentage annual rate of depreciation of the vehicle that he bought. Okay, and that's quite simple because, well, we know two things. We know the cost price, and we know after 4 years the value of it. So we can calculate the percentage depreciation. So let's do that. So we know that we must use, it's going to put 7.1 just to complete it, to ask how much did the vehicle first cost, 450,000 rand. And 7.2, it says what is the actual value of the depreciation amount in percentage per year. So we know that the depreciation formula is A equals P 1 minus I to the power of n. That's on your formula sheet, but at this stage you should know it, or at least know more or less what it looks like. You should never look at your formula sheet hoping to find a formula that you can use. You should look at your formula sheet to confirm a formula that you know you must use. So just to make sure that you are getting the correct formula, but you should never look at it in hope. Then you're hopelessly off. Okay, so A, what was our original price? And then what was our A is the value that we're looking for now, P is the original price, and then we want to find I. So if we look back on the thing, we'll see that after 4 years we have 243736.90. So that was on the Q value. Let me just bring it up again. That's this Q value over here. So they're saying after 4 years, that's what the car is worth. So we simply say the car is worth 243736.90. The original price was 450,000. 1 minus our I value, and to the power of however many years. Okay, 4. And it's a compounded yearly, so it's a yearly based thing, so it's just, there's no months involved. We then say, well, 243736.9 divided by 45, 0, 1, 2, 3, and that's equal to, let's just do it out the long way, minus I to the power of 4. Now, we look at that and we say, okay, well, how do we get rid of it? Well, we take the fourth root of both sides. The fourth root of both sides. Now we've taken the fourth root, that one cancels with that 4, and we see we get this. Now, just a bit of advice, don't ever put this into your calculator each step. Firstly, it's a waste of time. And secondly, you start rounding off, and when you round off, you lose information, so you generally get significant figures wrong. So I don't suggest doing it. You can if you keep the answer in your calculator at all times, but I really highly suggest just doing it like I've done it, as one big thing. So now you have 1 minus I. You want to take this 1 across, so we take this 1 across, and we have the fourth root of this thing, 243736.9 divided by 450,000 minus 1 equals negative I. Obviously, this here is going to be a negative, it's going to be less than 1. Sorry, this guy's going to be less than 1 minus 1, so we're going to get negatives on both sides, and we're going to drop the negatives then, and we're going to get I is equal to 0.1421. Okay, so we get I equals that, and then if as a percentage, must write it as a percentage, I is equal to, so you times this by 100%, and I is equal to 14.21%, and that's your depreciation every single year. Right. The next question says, let me just 7.3, it says, if the average rate of the price increase for the vehicle is 8.1% per annum, calculate the value of A. So if I can show you, so they're saying that the price increase is 8.1% on this inflation, so 8.1% inflation, or price increase. It's quite a lot, but anyways, they're saying, what is that value A? So after 4 years, how much will that cost? So inflation, we know, is compound interest, so A equals P1 plus I to the power of n, compounded yearly. So they're asking how much will it cost. So A is equal to the original cost, which is 450,000. 1 plus I, which is 8.1%, to the power of n, which is 4 years. Now, just a note on this, you can write that as 8.1 divided by 100. I prefer to literally just write it as 8.1%, and in your calculator, you type in that percentage sign, and it will work it out for you. So there's no need to actually go and convert it, just literally write it as is, and write it as 8.1%, and that represents this for your calculator anyway. So I don't recommend doing it like it unless you really want to. Just write 1 plus 8.1 and hit the percentage sign on your calculator. It'll work it out for you. You can test it and see to be fine. We can then plug that all into our calculator. Okay, and you can see that works out to 614,490 Rand and 66 cents. Now we've got a long question. For 5 marks, it says, I'll just go to it quickly. Just write down 7.5. And it says here, a vehicle costs 450,000 Rand now, and it's to be replaced at the end of 4 years. So we know it's going to be a sinking fund. Okay, as soon as we get something like this, we know we've done enough of these questions to see it's going to be a sinking fund. And it says, the old vehicle will be used as a trade-in. A sinking fund, surprise, is created to cover the replacement cost of this vehicle. Placements will be made at the end of each month. The first payment will be made at the end of the 13th month, and the last payment will be made at the end of the 48th month. The sinking fund earns interest at a rate of 6.2% per annum, compounded monthly. Calculate the monthly payment of the fund. Right, that's a lot to take in, but let's see if we can simplify it. So it says a vehicle costs 450,000 Rand now. And they want to replace it in 4 years. Okay. And what is the inflation? What is the average rate? Well, we've already calculated all of that in the previous few questions. We've calculated it just above here. We know that in 4 years' time, it's going to be 614,490.66. That's the price of it in 4 years' time. And how much deposit are you going to put down, right? So it says it must be replaced, so we're going to trade it in, because it says the vehicle will be used as a trade-in. So we say, well, how much will it be worth in 4 years' time, your old vehicle? And it says, or it told us in the story, that old vehicle is going to be worth, and we got 243,736.90. So that's how much the old vehicle is going to cost. So how much are you going to need for your sinking fund? That's the first piece. So you're going to require, you take the amount of a new vehicle, how much it's going to cost, minus how much you sell your old vehicle for, and you can figure out how much money you need for your sinking fund. So 370,753.76. So you literally subtract the two. So this is how much it's going to cost in 4 years' time, and this is how much you're going to sell your old vehicle for. So then that is obviously how much you need. It's fairly simple. How much something costs minus how much you get for your old vehicle, and that's how much you still need. So you still need 370,753 Rand and 76 cents. And then we say, okay, we need a sinking fund. Sinking fund, you are saving for the future. Now, just a note on the side here. If you are saving for the future, as you are doing with a sinking fund, you're putting money away to save for the future, you need to use the future value formula. If you are taking money, you're borrowing money, okay? So if you borrow money from a bank, so you take out a loan, and you get the money now. So you get money now. Now being in the present. You take money out now, so you can spend it now. It's in the present, so you must use present value. If you are taking out a loan to use the money now, it is the present value in the present. If you are saving for the future, it is future value. So what are we doing with a sinking fund? We are saving for the future, so we must use the future value formula. So a sinking fund, this future value formula, and the future value formula, look on your formula sheet and you see it's 1 plus I to the power of n minus 1 divided by I. Right. Now they're looking to see how much must you save each month. Now we first need to figure out how many months he's saving for. Well, he's saving for 4 years. So 4 years times 12 is equal to 48 months. But he only starts saving at the end of the 13th month. Okay? So how many months does he pay? Well, he starts at the 13th. If you take 48 minus 13, you end up with 35 months. But he pays at the end of the 13th, so we don't actually count all 13. We say 48 months minus 12 because he's paid on the 13th month. So the 13th month, there's actually a payment in there. So we only miss out on 12 previous payments. And if there are 12, so 48 payments in total, because there's 48 months, and you've paid on the 13th. In other words, you've lost out on 12 previous payments. So that leaves us 36 months in which he's going to make payments in. Okay, so we have 36 months worth of payment. So we take that future value formula, FV, and we say, well, FV is equal to X 1 plus I. Now, that future value we've got, which we'll put it in now, I is the total percentage that he gets, 6.2%. And I forgot brackets, so just put brackets in. And it's for 36 months, right? Because he made 36 payments. And because we're working in months, we've got to work in months over here. Minus 1. Divide that by 6.2% divided by 12. Now just remember this 12 over here, it's your formula is 1 plus I over M, which is the number of actual months, payments that you make, N times M. So N is the number of years and M is the number of payments per year. So if we had said you're compounding quarterly, then there are 4 quarters in a year, so it is times 4. If we are saying we're compounding trimester, or every trimester, there are how many trimesters? There are 3 trimesters, so M would be 3. If we are doing it half yearly, there are 2 halves in a year, so we times it by 2, not 6. I've seen people take it and say, well, half yearly, and there are 6 months because they think M stands for months. No, M stands for how many times a year it gets compounded. So in this case, it's monthly, and there are 12 months in a year, so it's 12 times your number of years. And in this case, we worked out over there that it works out to 36 payments. Okay, so we plug all that in and we say, well, our FV is actually the total amount that we were looking for, how much we're trying to save for. So we have 370,753.76. That is how much we're trying to save for. And that's equal to, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bottom piece, let me just get rid of that and get rid of that, take this bottom piece and I'm going to multiply it by that over there. So we have that multiplied by 6.2% divided by 12, and we multiply it because we need to multiply both sides by 6.2 over 12 to get rid of it, and that's equal to X times this whole monstrosity, 1 plus 6.2% over 12, 36 minus 1. And the good thing is you can actually plug that into your calculator and get a number. It's just one big number. And then you can say, well, X is equal to, and I'm just going to work it out here, 370,753.76 times by 6.2% divided by 12. All that divided by 1 plus 6.2% divided by 12 to the power of 36 minus 1. So I'm literally taking this whole thing over here, divide both sides by that, so we have X by itself, and then we just take this horrible ugly mess that is this, and we plug that into our calculator and we get a value for X. And that value for X is given by 9397.11 Rand a month. So that is how much he's going to need to save for the next 4 years, well, next 36 months, if he wants to achieve his goal of replacing his car. And that is the end of question number 7.